Good morning, Chris.
Anthony, how are you on this fine, chilly Thursday morning in Colorado?
I am very excited about my dad joke. I think I told you this before.
You did. You teased the dad joke to me before we started the show, and I said mine is so bad that it might be better than yours. But let's hear.
All right, you go first. I want to follow yours.
Well, I'll tell you, my kids, they were home for Thanksgiving, and they came in the house. And they walked in. You know, they've brought animals home before, but this time they did it. They walked in and they brought a penguin into our house. And I said, gentlemen, that bird is not going to fly.
You could have said chicken too, I guess.
Could have. Chicken's kind of flapping around.
All right. Here's my dad joke. I think it has all the elements of the perfect dad joke.
You're putting a lot of pressure on this dad joke right now.
I'm probably overselling it, which makes it fall flat.
All 12 of our fans, let's sit back and relax. Okay, let's get ready.
Where do you take somebody who's been in a peekaboo accident?
Anthony, I don't know. Where do you take somebody who's been in a peekaboo accident?
To the ICU. All right, am I right?
Oh my! Maybe the perfect dad joke. Did
I oversell it? It's pretty damn good.
It's pretty good.
We could just end the show there.
I don't know if we'll get maybe at this point we just. Thank you for joining us on House. Wow. I don't know where we go. Do we just stop telling dad jokes now?
There's little joy left in my life after that dad joke. That's the peak right there.
I just snorted. You made me snort. Wow. That was so bad.
My nephew told me that, Luke told me that over the weekend. I'm like, you win the dad joke war of all time.
I don't know. I'll ask people that follow the show. If you've heard more than a couple of dad jokes, give us a comment or something and just tell us. I think that one might be the best. I don't know, but I'm thinking so. I was pretty excited about my penguin joke. I thought my penguin joke was going to be pretty good. And then you came and did the peekaboo. Anthony, what if your first follower believes in themselves, not you? When Clayt Mask launched Infusionsoft in 2004, his first customers weren't buying software. They were buying the identity of being real marketers in a world where most small businesses still relied on sticky notes and spreadsheets. I rely on sticky notes and spreadsheets to this day. Today on How to Founder, we're going to be talking about the first follower principle and why your earliest believers choose you. I am your host, Chris Franks. With me is a guest today. He is a two-time Mr. Olympia. He has climbed Everest 16 times, 3 times in only jogging shorts. Mr. Anthony Franco.
we were supposed to have Brad Bickerton on, and last minute he had to bow out. He's not feeling well today. So Brad's a good friend of mine, and he would not have canceled unless he was on his deathbed. So I hope he gets well soon.
me too. Because we were kind of making fun of you, Brad, and Brad's gonna be like, "No, I was actually in the ICU, not for a peekaboo."
You had a peekaboo accident.
It wasn't a peekaboo accident. But I think the best way to start up this episode is to play the video clip that you queued up for us, Anthony.
Oh yeah, let me play this. This is pretty good.
If you've learned a lot about leadership and making a movement, then let's watch a movement happen start to finish in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons. First, of course, a leader needs the guts to stand alone and look ridiculous. But what he's doing is so simple, it's almost instructional. This is key. You must be easy to follow. Now here comes the first follower with a crucial role. He publicly shows everyone else how to follow. Notice how the leader embraces him as an equal. So it's not about the leader anymore, it's about them, plural. Notice how he's calling to his friends to join in. See, it takes guts to be a first follower. You stand out and you brave ridicule yourself. Being a first follower is an underappreciated form of leadership. The first follower transforms a lone nut into a leader.
That ending sentence says everything. A first follower transforms a lone nut into a leader.
Well, I think that we can now finally come clean, Anthony, that I was that person dancing by myself. You were the person to join me. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you. That little handstand move you did was just outstanding.
You had a lot of followers. I mean, Denver Founders had a lot of followers. So.
Also, I was on peyote, so it. I didn't remember any of it. All right, let's actually dive into the content here, Anthony.
Do the voices in your head count as first followers?
Exactly. I got lots of followers. I was yelling at me though, Anthony. Let's start by defining this. I think we just did. I think we just defined the idea of what a first follower is. But talk to me about why it's important. And we were talking before you came on, like this is something you've been focusing on a lot over the last 6 months. Just set the stage for me here. What is a first follower? Why does it matter?
Well, I mean, so first followers, I look at first followers, it could be a customer. It could be, the first person that showed up at your meetup. It could be an investor. It could be just somebody that expresses interest, right? So first follower is the person that decides what you're doing is worthwhile getting behind. And they want to attach their identity to the vision that you're painting. It's incredibly important.
Yeah. So dive into that just a little bit more, because I think that probably when I'm thinking about this, you think, okay, if I'm trying to create a brand, or if I'm trying to create a company, I'm trying to create some sort of something a little bit bigger than just maybe a software project or something like that. And I'm thinking about Apple as one of those iconic examples of a brand where people really latch their identity onto that brand. Does it have to be sort of one of these big iconic brands? Can it be just something simple, like you said, like a meetup or a blog? Or
well, I mean, think about if you're a software developer, you look at the Agile Manifesto, started with just a small group of developers that developed this manifesto. And there was, I don't know who the person was, but there was somebody that decided, I'm going to get behind this, and started pointing people to the Agile Manifesto. And it became this massive movement. So it does not have to be a big brand. It can be, it doesn't even have to be a brand. It doesn't even have to be a company. It can be a phrase or a saying or a meme. Anything that goes beyond 100 people had the first follower that helped make it a thing.
All right. So other than my mom, who I think was the first follower of How to Build,
moms don't count.
Okay, so moms do not count. I just wanted to ask, that was the question. So mom, I forced my children to listen to it when they were in trouble. It was timeout and they had to listen to How to Founder. So so this is somebody that actually finds value in the content of whatever it is. All right. So take me through, do you personally build for a first follower? In other words, are you trying to think through like who that first follower may be, or is it a byproduct of doing something kind of a larger vision and mission?
Well, let me set the stage a little bit differently here. So the challenge that's been placed on me over the last little bit, is it better to be the leader or the first follower? So, um, it's the first follower has more responsibility, more of a job than the leader, and because the first follower essentially is the person that's supposed to bring on other followers. It requires a certain amount of humility, a certain amount of being willing to look foolish, um, almost more so than the person that starts the movement. And if you think about like the if you think about like a band, right? The the band has the manager or the agent. The agent's the first follower, potentially. They're the person promoting the band. They're the background. What the first follower has that the band doesn't is the manager can manage multiple bands. So as a first follower, you can get behind multiple movements. And you don't have to pick one, whereas the leader you kind of do. So I don't know, Chris. What do you think? Do you think I think I've always wanted to be the leader, and I'm reevaluating that.
Well, it's the thing that strikes me, and you and I have talked so much about the world of that we came up with where VC or angel investment was so critical to start a company. And we've said 100 times now that it's way easier to start a company that's ever been, and you probably don't need that investment. You want it sometimes, but I think that what you're saying is, and this actually kind of reframes some of my beliefs, is that in the world we came up with, angel investors are first followers. There's somebody that hears your vision, knows that you're
Yeah.
going to screw this thing up, knows that you're going to get it wrong, but believes deeply in the problem you're trying to solve and the market you're attacking, et cetera, and is
And
willing to
you.
believe in you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of an interesting piece because I have thought at times, like, I wonder if I could ever be an investor. And I'm not sure that I could. I think that I'm probably too much wanting to be the leader, but I do agree with you. I think that first followers may be even a harder job than being the leader. Okay, so if we have now defined what a first follower is, and we're saying it's somebody that believes in the mission, is willing to attach their identity. I think that was an interesting piece that you said. I want to have you just dive in on that component.
Yeah. So essentially, if you're trying to gain first followers, um, you have to think about it about what's it. You have to think about their self interest. What's in it for them? Not what's in it for you. Obviously, first followers help your business grow. So the obvious thing is that you should want these, but you have to think about it from their perspective. Who who are they going to be when they follow this? What do they get out of it? What do they and more than monetary, it's about identity. It's about um what does following this say about me? Um, and that I think that requires, Chris, when you decide to follow something. I mean, I'd love for you to answer this. So when you've decided to become a fan of something, was it because you thought you were becoming a part of a cult? Did you think it was because did you think you were becoming a part of a one of a million people that are following this, or did you think it was because
Did you actually freeze? I thought you sometimes have pregnant pauses. I think that you
no, I
froze.
asked you a question. I was waiting
All
for you
right.
to answer.
I'll that it seems so weird that I actually get to answer. Um, I think that the way that I can frame this is, and I'll say it from probably the biggest organization that I've ever started. And biggest organization meaning the most amount of members, which was Denver Founders. Denver Founders, Josh and I started it. We started it because we were lonely and we didn't have anybody to talk to. And we knew that I knew I was failing. I just didn't have other founders to hang out with. And I think that the piece that was most interesting is that when we started to get people that were coming back week over, or month over month to these events, it was because we were very authentic about what it meant to be a founder and all the hard stuff. It's the same thing that we do with this show. It's just being very authentic to be like, this is crazy. We do this crazy job. We love it, but it's insane. And all this stuff happens that no person that's not doing this job would ever actually understand. And I think that that's an idea of an identity. And then you and I have talked about this, Anthony. We didn't call ourselves entrepreneurs. We called ourselves founders, because founders was a broader idea than being an entrepreneur. And it's something that's kind of come even to this show, is this idea of founding something is about creating value. I do think that there was a sense of identity that people started to have by saying, oh, I'm a founder and I belong to this group and I want to belong to this group and I see myself in this group. And I have something where I can say, I'm not a failed entrepreneur, or I'm not a entrepreneur, whatever that is like, oh, I'm a founder. I have that mentality. Does that fit in this model?
Yeah. I mean, is founder bigger or smaller? So you can be an entrepreneur. I think the difference between entrepreneur and founder is revenue. Is that the difference? Like, how would you define the difference?
Well, I always use our friend Ford as the example. Ford has a 21-year-old nonprofit that's never made, it's grown and has retained revenue, but it's not a for-profit enterprise.
Right.
He has created incredible value. He's a founder. You can call him a social entrepreneur too, but he's a founder. Yeah. And then, whereas I, a founder, even as my first business was struggling, that I created Denver Founders, which never made any money. As a matter of fact, we, ended up buying the beer for a bunch of years, so lost money in it. But was that being a founder as well? So it was the idea that it was kind of broader, I thought, at least. But
yeah, I think founder. So I think founder actually belongs here in this first follower conversation, because a founder does create followers, and followers can mean customers, right? Or investors, or employee, or hire employees. So yeah, I do think that there's all this baggage also that comes with follower, right? There's this baggage that if you are a follower, you're not a leader. And I think it's the opposite of that. Let's throw away that baggage of being a follower means you can't lead. I don't think that at all. And if you're a leader, you can't also be a follower. I think in order to be a good leader, you have to understand what it takes to follow. You have to practice following before you can become a leader. So, right. but this first follower is so critical. Because
it's just like that video by yourself, you're a crazy person.
Yeah, by yourself, you're a lone nut, right? So talk about how did at Denver Founders is a great example. It was you and one other person. Who is the first follower? So you and I'm sorry, the names.
Jeff.
Yeah, Charlie. Who was the leader? Who was the follower there? Who was the first follower between the two of you?
That's a very good question. And I think it probably is similar to like what we did with this show, which is sometimes I'm following you and sometimes you're following me. I don't know that there's and we have enough respect for each other where it's like, hey, I feel really strongly about this. Like, great, I can back off. But I think that the key principle, maybe the learning point here, is that you have to be thoughtful about who, like, building an audience. And so I think that we came up in a world, Anthony, where Apple was the classic example, and we're talking about this as a follower principle, but you just build a great brand and people will show up. Like, you just build a movement, people will show up, et cetera. And that wasn't the case for Denver Founders or some of these other things. It was, we designed it for founders. We wanted to have a safe place. We wanted to, and we'd say it every single time that we would meet. We want you to be able to come and show up and talk to other people. And we want you to have a place where you can just be a founder. You can be honest. You don't have to pitch. You don't have to do any of those things. And so designing for that concept, I think is maybe one of the first principles. And so I want to I want to get into the how component of that in a second, but first giving you that opportunity to reflect is that when you're trying to build something where followers are part of it, they get a vote, right? They get you have to try to figure out what it is that they want and need. And that's all those things that we do, getting out of the office, selling, talking to people, et cetera, right?
Do they get a vote? No, I'm going to challenge you on that. Do they get a vote? So there's two ways to lead. One way is to say, this is the way I'm going, either follow me or not, which could be a lonely path, right? And there are founders that do that. They don't necessarily listen to the people that they want to follow them. They don't even consider that. They just like, this is the direction I'm going. And then people decide to follow them. Forrest Gump comes up as an example when he went out for the run, right? He didn't set out to have people follow him. They just started to.
Well, he's a fictional character, right?
I agree, but there's founders like that just decide to go this direction and people decide to follow them. Then there's the other type of founder that is purposeful about creating followers, which means they solicit feedback by the people that are deciding whether or not to follow them. Which is more powerful?
I think you're hitting on a very important principle here, which is, so you've got the lone nut dancing alone and people just show up and follow him. And I think that's the story we want to believe. Like, I'm such a visionary as a founder. I'm such a visionary that I'm just going to create this thing and people are going to show up and just follow me magically. And that this is the Forrest Gump, right? So we'll call this the Forrest Gump approach. And then there's the tactical going out and talking to your target market, creating something, creating a brand that speaks specifically to them, et cetera. That's a very, very scientific approach. I think that if you go either side, you're likely to fail, right? Like, you have to have some sort of balance between those components. If it is purely designing a brand or a movement or whatever to get followers, I think it'll feel disingenuous. Like, I think it'll feel fake, and I don't think people will follow you. At the same time, yes, there's the Forrest Gumps and the guy dancing by himself of the world, but those are rare. You want to have these somewhere in between those two. I think that's my hypothesis. What do you think?
Well, so it has to be authentic. I don't know. Like, I've been cult adjacent.
You want to go with the lone nut. Like,
I've been cult adjacent, right? I've and what I mean by that is I've witnessed as a bystander, as somebody, an observer, a cult actually get formed. Multiple cults, what I would call a cult. No. What I would call a cult, like you watch these people follow this leader, and you're like, this is they are absorbed in their identity and the founder's identity. Like, what I had a customer that his employees were cult followers. They all created a clone of his dog and named it the same name. Like, that's how like, you watch this stuff and you think to yourself, how did this dude do that? How did he develop that kind of following? And that's not, I don't think that's healthy. Honestly, I don't think trying to develop that following is healthy. So I want to just put that on a side. So if you're trying to develop these cult-like followers, I think there's something wrong with you.
I'm just realizing that we're 162 episodes in, and I'm wondering if you've been, like, kind of warming me up to be part of your cult, Anthony. So, like, 200 episodes is when you...
I haven't given you that. I haven't given you the hat yet. So worry about when I give you the hat.
Quite yet.
But then there's authentic. But then now let's talk about authentic following, right? So what I think you were pulling on, Chris, is this notion that you want to provide value. You have a unique perspective on how to provide that value, but you need outside validation that your perspective is truly valuable. And so there's that relationship between leader and follower that is critical for true movements. I say that, but I don't know if that's entirely true.
I'm taking a point and then saying that it's not.
I don't know. I mean, what do you think, Chris?
So I think that as I'm trying to like pull this through to a founder and starting to think about what are the lessons here. I think that there is an idea that has evolved over the past, decade or two, but it's very, very clear right now, which is you and I, when we first started our companies, we wanted it to be about the company. And that's that idea of servant leadership. It's the idea that we wanted the brand to be forward. We wanted it to be about the team, et cetera. But I think that you and I have learned that founders have to be the story. They have to be your brand early on. Yes, you can shape your brand around that, but particularly in 2025, 2026 and beyond, where AI is such a dominant force and that the tactics of marketing are now easier than it's ever been, authenticity matters dramatically right now. And so the personality, and I don't want to use the word charisma, but it's that energy and passion and focus and desire to change the world that a founder has. And it's the reason we love hanging out with other founders, why we love doing this show, Anthony. Founders are different. They're different people. They have a vision of how the world can be different. And that is incredibly inspiring to me. I would just say more so than ever before, founders have to be the person that is front and center in a company. Agree, disagree?
I think that's probably true, but also a very precarious position. Look at have you seen the Liver King documentary?
No. Oh, is that the guy who?
It's a fascinating step. So if you want to learn more about about developing a tribe, watch Liver King. It is kind of an expose on what it's like to develop that tribe, that first following, and the perils of doing that. Because he, like all human beings, failed. He broke, and it entirely ruined everything that he had built. And so there is a danger, and I think a lot of people shy away from being the quote unquote leader because they know they're flawed. and once that flaw, this is the whole imposter syndrome. Once that flaw is exposed, once somebody goes, aha, I knew you weren't X, Y, and Z, you're now embarrassed publicly, shamed publicly.
Here's my counter argument. I'm going to go back to the idea of authenticity.
Yeah.
Is that when you show up in the world, Anthony, as the absolute one of the world's expert now in the framework of artificial intelligence and how to build artificial intelligence systems, and the next company and the next company and the next company, you show up with all your authentic self, and you talk about your failures and you talk about your successes and you talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and your string of really bad dad jokes up till today. I do think that you raised the bar today. So of those, you're not pretending to be somebody you're not, right? You're just showing up as yourself, and that is authenticity, and being authentic and being vulnerable. And there's lots of science around this. All the work of Dr. Brené Brown is about the power of showing up as yourself and not pretending to be somebody else. And I haven't seen the documentary, but I'm going to guess that the reason why he fell was because he was trying to pretend to be something, and it turned out he was not that thing.
Yeah. Yes. But would he have become as big as he was? because he was really big. Both in audience and in stature.
I want to make a joke here, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that.
But like, can you get to that scale while showing your flaws as well? I don't think so.
I would argue that what we're talking about right today is the first follower.
Yes.
And there's this principle, and I think that maybe you should speak to it, which is what is it? The first 1,000 or
first 100?
First 100, right? And if you can build a business with
first 100 raving customers, yeah,
Okay.
if you can build that, then you're on your way. Like, that's what's more important: your first 100 raving customers or your first 1,000 meh customers.
Yeah. So maybe if you have 100, I think, and that's been one of the principles that we've had as founders, is that we want to get 100 fans. If you can get 100 fans, that's real. And then you can scale beyond 100 fans and you can get, start a movement, et cetera. And so the point there is, I'm not sure that you need 100,000 or 1 million or 2 million people following you and being on your every word. And I think that there is this idea now of this influencer movement that we're seeing with social media, et cetera. And there is a level of inauthenticity that exists within that movement. And so I do think that part of this, and I think this is maybe our second or third principle here, which is you can't pretend to be somebody that you're not if you want to develop and build real followers.
Well, I wouldn't say, I struggle with the absolute. You can do it, but it's very risky.
It's risky,
right?
And you're probably going to set yourself up.
It's highly risky to pretend you're somebody you're not and gain a following behind that. But if you're trying to build a public persona, you have to divorce yourself from that public persona. You speak about it as a third person, right? If you're developing a public persona, you have to speak about it as its own thing, which has amazing amount of risk. Because once you as an individual fail, and you will, because we all do, does the mask come off? I think developing that first follower, it comes down to, will a first follower follow that inauthentic persona? Yes, harder. It can't, or is it easier to find first followers where you're just truly who you are and self-aware and comfortable in your own skin? I think that would be easier.
So I'll tell you how I approach this, Anthony, and then we can start to frame this up as the more advice that we can give to founders.
Yeah.
Which is, it's funny, but it's also has worked for me, which is at Clever Funnel, I realized this along the way, that I needed to be out front, that it wasn't going to be about the brand. It wasn't going to be about anything, this idea of growth marketing and how traditional marketing is dumb and all that sort of stuff, which is all the things I believed. There needed to be an evangelist, and that had to be me. So I built a persona called Douchebag Chris. And Douchebag Chris was the guy who would go out and stand in front of an audience. And you've heard me give these speeches about growth marketing. I'm not inauthentic. I still talk about foibles and how I screwed it up, but I have to put on this persona of being incredibly confident. And then I go back in my normal CEO self, which is incredibly humble, and realize that I don't know things. And then I'm going to learn and try to adapt along the way. But the persona that I'm putting out front, you don't have to call yourself a douchebag. That is a little bit kind of like, not very kind to yourself. But you get the idea that it's actually just a version of yourself where you can stand in front of a room and feel confident and be the person who's saying stuff while still being authentic, but also then going back and being humble and learning. Is that a fair way for us to approach it?
Yeah. And I think we're talking about how do you, so if you want to develop a first follower, you have to be followable, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what you're saying. But I still want to go back to that notion that I'm reevaluating this whole decision of wanting followers and just being a follower, being that first follower, getting behind another entrepreneur, getting behind somebody else that I could I could help this person by not being the front man, but by being the person that makes them the front man,
I
that
think
makes
it's a
them the
really
front woman.
hard thing because we're, and I'm just talking about you and me. I don't think every founder is the same way, but you and I are wired to believe, like, we have this crazy conflict inside of us of I'll quote one of my favorite movies of all time. It's a baseball movie, Bull Durham. It says the key to baseball is fear and arrogance. And so, and Nuclear says fear and ignorance. It's a joke. But so fear and arrogance, which is like you have to believe that you can do something where 80% of people fail. And you have to believe that you're the person that can do it. And you have to believe that you're wired in this unique way that's going to be the 20%, not the 8%. And then the fear being you have to be humble enough not to drive through walls and not listen to feedback and not quit when you should quit, et cetera. And so I feel like we're wired to be the person out front. Is it, and I think this is what you're driving to, for somebody like you that's wired, is it hard to say, okay, look, I'm not going to be that person. I'm going to sit behind. I'm going to help you be successful. I'm going to help push you out front and not care that you're not the person out front.
Is it, I don't know if, I mean, you're asking me if it's hard to do that. All of this is hard to do. So hard isn't the qualifier. Is it possible is the qualifier. Could I do that? I totally could do that. And I think it is less risky. The harder part is finding the person to follow. Finding that person that I'm willing to get behind and say, yeah, I would follow that guy through a brick wall, or that I would follow her into whatever fire she wants to lead us into. So that's the harder part, is developing that kind of trust behind somebody. But absolutely, I could follow somebody and support them and build their personal brand, build their product company up. Totally could do that.
I think it's funny. I think I probably could too, but I think it's taken me this long in this journey to be like, yeah, I don't need to be out front.
Yeah, there is something. There's something that you. I recognize the value in this first follower, and I would love to. Yeah, I think I would love to be able to do that for founders.
All right, I want to get to some practical advice here because we've been sort of all over the map. I think we've gotten a couple of principles so far, but let's see if we can codify them, which is the first thing is advice for founders. If you're creating something where followers and a movement is important, and I think that for most people,
everything this is true no matter what.
And so
it's true no matter what.
I think that there's the first thing that we really came to is this idea of the balance between being the lone nut, in our analogy, we were saying this is the Forrest Gump. You just go out and start running and people show up, and being the person that is not authentic and builds something entirely focused on other people. So there's some sort of balance there.
Yeah.
I think that the second idea is this idea of authenticity of you as a founder and you needing to be the voice. I don't know that we've really gotten to a point on that one. Do we agree that that's something that is necessary, that you as the founder or one of you as the founder need to be the person that is out front talking? So it's about a human, not a brand. Is that fair?
I don't know. Name one person that developed the Agile Manifesto. And it's a huge movement. It's a huge movement. And most people that follow the Agile Manifesto have never even read it, honestly. Nonetheless, talk about the people that built the 12 that built it. So I don't know if it's a requirement to develop a movement that there's a face to it. It can be around it. I think it's around an idea. I think it is around an idea. I think that's more important. I do believe if you're building a company, people want to buy from the owner, the founder. I do think that's important, but I don't think it is the thing. It's around the idea. I think first followers require a really strong idea first.
Okay, I think I will agree with the idea being paramount. And I agree with the idea of being bigger than a company, right? It's got to be bigger and wider, and it's got to be about how the world is changing and how the world will be different. That's the sort of
Yep.
leader you need to be if
Yep.
you want to have followers.
Yep.
And so if you're creating a company, if you're creating an idea, I think one of the larger components here is you're not just solving a technical problem, or you're not creating a product, even though that's every bit of our day to day. You need to continue to attach your company to the larger vision of how the world will be different.
Yes. Yes.
And
So you look at that video, right? The one thing is you have to. So let's talk about that video. So good because it listed a bunch of things that are required. One, you have to be unique in order to be followable. You have to be different. Like, what am I following? It has to be distinct. Two, you have to treat followers as equals. Like they're a part of the tribe. Now they're part of what you're doing. You have to be easy to follow. What I think that means is you have to answer the question immediately, intuitively, without words. What is this thing that I'm following? Which means you need to be really clear on voice, really clear on that idea. You have to be. Otherwise, you're following something that's trying to do 10 different things. No, people follow something that is going in this direction, this one thing that is so easy to comprehend that they could explain it to another friend in a sentence.
So I think this might be our final point before we move into the speed round, which is the what I'm taking away from this conversation is that founders have to be evangelists. And evangelism is slightly different than being somebody that can pitch their company, somebody that can do this. Is if you're trying to develop a following, evangelists are people that talk about how the world's going to be different and about how your solution can help deliver that to the world. And you're evangelizing to everybody. And if a co-founder could be your first follower, a investor could be your first follower. You have a whole group of people that could be your first follower that can start to give you this traction, this idea. But and we've said it all the time, Anthony, is that you got to be able to tell the story of your company. I think that what we're saying there, I'm using the word evangelism, I think it's the right word, is you've got to be able to tell that story in a very clear way. Is that a fair summation?
Yeah, I think it is. And I want to underscore why does this first follower matter so much? So if I said, Chris, the audience should follow me, our How to Founder audience should follow me. I'm the driving force behind How to Founder. If I said that, you may or may not believe me. You probably wouldn't. But Chris, if you said everybody should follow Anthony, that has different weight. That has much more credibility than somebody saying something self-serving. So first followers give that third-party objective, perceived objective opinion on why to follow this. So followers have way more impact on the success or failure of a company than the founder does. Way more impact.
This gets back to the foundational research of Cialdini, which is called social proof. Social proof being one of the absolute most foundational things that we as humans look for.
Yeah.
And so even if you can manufacture social proof, but I think true, authentic social proof of having followers actually matters a lot. And it's funny, Anthony, I'm thinking about early days of social media and when we were all on Twitter before it became X and we were trying to get followers and we were trying to do that. You looked at an account, if it had 1 or 2 followers, you're like, yeah, right. It's true today, right? When you're looking at podcasts, we were talking about how wildly successful we've been in this show. Pretty sure we're going to be millionaires any day now.
we have no monetization strategy.
No monetization strategy. And we do have followers.
We do have followers. Yeah,
it's pretty good. I think it's been a pretty darn interesting conversation. It went someplace entirely different than I thought. But let's go to the speed round if you are ready, Anthony.
All right, here we go.
I was hoping you would play the speed round.
Oh, sorry.
That's fine. No, thank you very much. I was slow on the uptake there. Your first follower built the tribe. You built the product. Whose name goes on the company?
Well, it's a longer answer. It's yours, not because of an ego reason, because the first follower can't also be the person that's on. A first follower can't follow themselves. So if the first follower needs to follow something.
First follower publicly disagrees with your direction. Should you fire them?
No.
Your movement grows faster when you're absent. Should you stay away?
No.
Your co-founder was your first follower. Now they want to lead. Should you step aside?
No.
First follower leave to start their own movement using your playbook. Do you celebrate them or do you cancel them, Anthony?
That's really hard. What I would do, what you should probably do is never talk to them again. What I would do is celebrate them and help them.
Makes you a good person and a terrible cult leader. I think that's what we've decided.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Anytime soon, Anthony. Deep Dive Resources, again, one of the most foundational books, Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion, Robert Cialdini. I just talked about it. Crossing the Chasm by Jeffrey Moore. Excellent conversation, Anthony. Person who has been Mr. Olympia 3 times, climbed Everest in nothing but his gym shorts. Thank you so much for joining us. But
I was in a Speedo.
And we'll just do a little modeling here. Anthony, not How to Founder. Where can I follow you personally? Where can I get in touch with you, Anthony?
Actually, go to the How to Founder website. Go to howtofounder.com. My LinkedIn, your LinkedIn, Stephanie's LinkedIn are all on that page. So come and chat with us on LinkedIn. And then just a reminder for everybody, please follow us on something, YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify channels. Those follows, those reviews really do help us gain awareness by other founders who really need to be brought out of the loneliness and connect with other founders like us. Anthony,
can I tell you a quick story?
Yeah, please.
I just got Spotify Wrapped, and our podcast wasn't on one of my top podcasts of the year because I don't listen to our own podcasts. And
you do listen to you participate. That's
I know. I just
yeah. It would be weird for you to go back and listen to the thing that you just did. I think that would be weird.
And also terrible as well, because then I just because in my mind I sounded smart, and then when I actually had to do that.
Yeah, exactly right. Want a way to make this show worse? Try to self-edit yourself. All right, everybody. You're the pioneers of economic prosperity. We're just really grateful to be there along the way with you. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Chris.